Welcome to the Pistol Midweek Mental Break.
All right, what's good? What's good? I don't know who that was. You could blame it on that one. We're back again for the midweek. I'm Manny.
I'm Mark.
I'm Tony.
I'm Veronica.
And this week, as always, we'll be discussing the previous week's, what are they, top stories for the week. So one of the things that's keeps lingering on was we talked 2 weeks in a row about those firefighters in Phoenix getting shot at, those guys getting broken into, and then they turn around and start firing rounds at them. Ultimately, last week they found them, and I will put the video of what happens to that person who jumps out on the deputy. So they found those guys. The Uglies are using a technique that we used quite a bit when we were undercover. And they roll up on him, and they jump out of the van, and old boy says, not today, decides to pull a little pistol out, and chitty chitty bang bang comes out, and he goes down. And it turns out later that the van that they were in was reported stolen. I think the gun might have been reported stolen. But one of the things that, not that it was so much that the shooting took place, but it's always about what happened after. So the minute that broke, within probably hours to the next day, the suspect's family is barking up the media talking about it was excessive force. They didn't have to shoot him.
Right. There was a kid in the car.
There was a kid in the car,
yeah.
There was a kid in the car. And so for me, I think for all of us that have been in those situations where things are going on, it's like they bring to the forefront all the shit that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, little Johnny used to sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
Guess what?
He got
if he
an
was
A.
sleeping on the couch that night, he wouldn't have been out committing
Right.
crimes.
Well, one of the things like Tony was talking about was, there's a kid in the car. Yeah. Right. Well, the car was stolen.
Criminals have kids.
Who put the kid in the fucking car?
Why would you put a kid in a stolen car?
Right.
How about that?
So that was something that, for me, it struck a nerve more so because at no time did the media even correct that issue. No one ever said, don't you think it was a little excessive to shoot at firefighters who are unarmed?
Yeah.
That's not what they want. They want sensationalized headlines.
And then you wonder,
baby nearly killed by cops.
And then you wonder why we're fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? He jumps out. He's going after the guys that shot at his brothers in red, and now he's being judged that he was it was excessive. This guy's got a gun. He points a gun. You see it in the video.
Well, and that's my question is, like, if you had a gun pulled on you, wouldn't you shoot the guy?
Well, no, you'd shoot him in the leg, Tony.
Here's a better question.
Because
you shoot the gun out of his hand.
Because
let's say your child was a cop, and somebody pointed a gun at your child. Wouldn't you want your child to shoot that person before he got shot? That's how you have to play it out. That's how you have to.
Well,
send
not
it out to
anymore.
the
Now
public.
they want you to de-escalate.
No, I know.
But that's what they're training. They're training de-escalation.
But I will say,
that's how you de-escalate. You say police don't move. If they do move, the de-escalation part is over.
If you move, I'm going to shoot you, is usually what I hear.
Yeah.
And if you move, you're going to get shot.
Right.
Yeah. That means you're going to attack.
But
A firefighter can understand that.
During his press conference, he really did back his deputies in
That's
it. Like,
good.
what he said was commendable.
Right. And it had nothing to do with that. And I do commend him for doing that and being transparent as he was. But these guys, it's not just the departments that have to start backing these cops.
Yeah.
That the media should have fucking said it was excessive, because I already know what society's going to say. They're going to say, well, he was innocent until proven guilty. You don't know if it was him. You don't know anything. And you're right. We don't. But what we do know, because of the video, is that he jumped out of a stolen vehicle with a gun, pointed at the cops, and got shot.
Yeah.
It's it's coming back to what we were briefly talking about a couple weeks ago, and that's when they were shooting at Tony in Ferguson, and everyone, all the firefighters being victimized there. I was talking to a neighbor of mine. He's a Phoenix firefighter, and he says it's happened a lot.
Yeah.
He says it's happened a lot where we go up on a guy, didn't know the call didn't come in as the guy was armed and hostile, just confused and disoriented, but he was on drugs, he was armed, and he pulls guns out on us, and it's like, and then playing into what you're saying, Manny, people aren't doing this. You know why? And it doesn't even really start with cops. It doesn't really start with firefighters. It really starts when these kids are leaving home and their first authority that they're getting outside of their home and their mom and dad is teachers. And teachers are being assaulted more often.
Oh, yeah.
They're being verbally threatened and stuff like that. So there's no respect for authority. And when you say you got to show respect for authority, people say, "Oh, you're not going to suppress me. You're not going to keep me down." It's not that. It's just there is authority within this world that we all succumb to because it's called a social society. That's how we become that way. I submit myself to the teachers, the principal, my boss, traffic speed limits, red lights, everything. And when you're going to start bucking that, it's going to start at the lowest level, and that's teachers. And then they don't like firefighters. They certainly don't like police. And
well, they already don't like firefighters.
Yeah.
And that'll lead us into the next topic that I wanted to bring up. Was last week I had got one of our members had sent over an article with shortages of police officers, and this is nationwide. They can't get qualified applicants, so much so that they're actually lowering the standards. Okay, and when you think about that, think about what kind of person do you want responding to your house, right? Do you want somebody who's got some questionable misdemeanors because you can't get the guys that stayed out of trouble their whole career, their whole life?
Well, you've been on long enough, Manny, that you remember back in the last big economic boom before the economy crashed.
Right.
And that's really what it all centered around. The fact that there were so many good financial options out there. Why on God's green earth would anyone want to be a police officer where your liability is sky high, your appreciation for your work is way low, and everything is upside down, and the pay is low?
Well, shit. I mean, there's people selling pre-workout and making millions of dollars. You know, I mean, it's like it's like you could do viral videos and be a millionaire. You can literally sell legal crystal meth, or you can be a police officer. You know, like.
Yeah, there's a million easier ways.
When I come rob you for your millions, you're going to need the fucking police to come save your dumbass.
So that's what happened to us last time.
That's the fucking thing, you know.
Yeah, we got into it last time, and it was the economy drove people away from the police department, and so the department started stepping up incentives, stepping up pay, stepping up benefits, stepping up retirement packages and stuff. Then the economy broke completely apart, and everybody says, "What's with these cops getting these $1 million retirement programs?" I'll tell you why. Because we came through 2007. That's why.
Right.
When we had to go out of state, we had to go out of country. My department was looking for people in Germany to come over here and start policing for us.
Well, and one of the things that one of the articles said was that, what Tony was saying, there's better paying jobs, less risk.
Yeah.
Which is true. But part of the problem is that the criminals understand that now.
Yeah.
Right? And if you have disregard for the police, how they have regard for you. And I met with one of my old partners from my old department, had coffee, kind of chopped it up a little bit, and we were talking about retirements and stuff. These people police officers across the country no longer have retirements. They have 401s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in my particular agency, they have to work 25 years. Mm-hmm. They have to put into the 401, and they have to work until they're 55 before they can get it.
Could you imagine?
Fuck that.
It's like, hey, we're going to put this 55-pound ball and chain, attach it to your ankle,
and we
say fuck you for 25 years.
And we might indict you.
Yeah, exactly.
They did the same thing to the military. So the military, you don't no longer do a 20-year stint and you start drawing your retirement. You do your 20 years, you'll get it at 55.
Yeah, that's
so normally you go in when you're 18, 20 years old, you get out at 40, and you got to wait 15 years to start drawing your retirement.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's the way of what's coming, brother.
And then
and why won't they get people to sign up for that? Because they're not morons.
Yeah, because like nobody's gonna fucking sign up for that.
Yeah. And one of the things that out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, they're having problems with recruiting. they are inundated with violent crimes. Like inundated to the point where there's just video after video after video of people being assaulted for no reason, other than they can get away with it. And
Where is this?
Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I'll put some links into the podcast on the YouTube channel. You can watch the videos, and I'll put one up. And they're vicious, vicious beatings. And the chief of the department went to the mayor and said, we need at least 400 new officers.
Wow. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's like the nationwide. Yeah.
And the mayor came back to him and said, we have budgeted for 14.
Oh my God.
That's what you get.
All I can say is
he's like, and here you go.
you folks better be
You gotta,
armed.
like,
You
start
honest
making
citizens better
the
be armed for
mayor
yourself.
Well,
all
and
of them
that's
put them in
that's what scares the
uniform.
fuck out of me is like, okay, well then, so it is gonna be Wild West times then. You know, like we all are just gonna have to fend for ourselves.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's what it's gonna have to come to.
They actually, the city council in Minneapolis actually said that the police were part of the problem and the bigger part of the problem. They're anti-police there, and they're hurting that much. And you know, there used to be a time where you could just say, I want to be a cop because it's the right thing to do. And I never once did I ever think that I was underpaid. I never did. I thought I got paid pretty well.
I thought so too.
I did too.
Fuck, we got paid very well to run around and chase bad guys. I mean,
Right.
as long as I had insurance and a pension, I thought it was okay. But now they've taken that away.
Yeah.
And now these people are coming in and they're expected. How do you recruit to that? Were any of you in recruiting? Were you in recruiting? No.
Well, prior to the 07 crash and when they were looking for folks back then, about a decade prior to that, Miami had a huge problem, and they reduced their standards because you talked about that.
I remember that.
Yeah, and they used to say, okay, you had to have college.
Right.
And you had to have this, you had to have this. And my department was the same way. Like, you had to have so much college or degree, and you had to have a 700 Isaac score or better. And then the economy went so fat that anyone could get a job doing anything. And they said, well, let's drop the college. Let's drop high school. Let's just do a GED.
Yeah.
You don't need a 700. Your credit's all jacked up. We'll pay your bills down to get you into a 700 score.
Hey, but
They've done that.
I'll tell you what.
Craziness. And then it ends up happening just like in Miami. Miami did the same thing. Those guys went so below their standard. The next thing you know, corrupt cops with no scruples, no standards, had never had to live up to any kind of code before. They came in, and the citizens were then being victimized by the cops.
That happened in LAPD.
That's what I'm afraid. Yeah, exactly what
LAPD.
happened at LA, Miami, LA.
Right.
New
They had the
York
consent decree
30
sent
years
down.
ago.
Yeah,
New York
that was
the same way.
That was bad. But I will tell you, I got a GED, and I'll tell you right now, I sat next to guys that graduated my academy and afterwards that had like masters. They shouldn't carry a gun.
I will definitely.
I'm not saying that's the standard.
Yeah.
I'm saying they had a standard, and then they washed the standard away.
Right.
On
And
every level.
right.
Education level.
I'm totally
financial
okay
level.
with having that standard be high enough, even some college.
Yeah.
When I was coming up, it was really based on your life experiences before. So you had to have integrity. You couldn't have done so many different drugs.
Right.
You couldn't have had a suspended license. Like there was certain standards because they were looking for the people that were just stand-up people without knowing they were going to become a police officer. Because it was hard as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Growing up, and you're like, I want to be a cop. They're like, oh, you can't go do drugs. And my friends are over there smoking pot all day. And they're like, why do I want to get high? You know? But I was like, no, I want to be a cop, so I'm not going to do that. Right? And yeah, it paid off.
Yeah.
But it's still, the standard is so low now. The standard is so low.
Yeah.
Even so much so that I'm now starting to see police officers with beards.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, it's a perk of the job. Fuck that. You look like a fool in a uniform.
I know.
That doesn't fit anything. And I don't agree with it. And maybe I'm old school, maybe I'm an old dinosaur. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're in a uniform, you should not have fucking beard. Mustache trim, like, military.
Yeah.
But I just don't think you look professional like that. And you're not going to command the respect.
Right.
But like you said, Mark, you tell them do that. Don't bully me. Don't bully me into cutting it.
Right.
You're
Right.
beard shaming me. So that was on my mind. So just something to think about. And then before we go ahead.
So I mentioned to you earlier on that note, I was talking to a Chandler guy the other day, and he was talking about hiring and stuff, and how at their last recruitment they had 25 people apply.
What?
Only 25.
Wow.
For probably 1,000 positions.
When I got hired, there was 300
At
people
least.
applying
Yeah.
for
Holy shit.
7 positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I applied for
That's
Phoenix,
insane.
I applied for Phoenix the first time. They had 2,500 people show up for 200
Right.
positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of those
Yeah.
numbers too.
Nuts.
Yeah, man.
So we'll chop it again next week and see what the current events are for next week. I'm sure they'll be just as exciting. In closing, Mark, I know you missed last week, but you're going to be doing the Instagram foot fetish, right? Or we're going to be able to...
It's the...
You got nice looking feet, Mark. You
it's
sent me pictures.
Mark's foot funding. What did I call that?
Right.
Foot fund?
So you're telling
Foot
me
fundraiser?
Mark's
So-
toe has been in this.
Foot
So what-
fundraiser.
Yeah.
I washed my feet, fool. Come on.
He's got pretty feet.
So what we'll do is
That's
I'll post a little something on there. You guys will like what he created, the creators we are. And then one other thing, I talked to Veronica today, I think it was, and she's like, I'm out of Cardinals gear. So currently, you'll see she's wearing Cardinals colors in her dress. But why not just start a fucking GoFundMe so Veronica can get more Cardinal shit?
Give
That'd be-
Veronica Cardinals
Send money to
memorabilia.
us so Veronica can wear new Cardinals shit.
Yes.
And I'm a baseball player. And part of the reason that they're losing, in my opinion, is because she has the same shit. She's wearing the same shit. She's got to change her attire completely.
go.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. I appreciate you guys coming out, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.